So last time we have an hello function and then a users functions that when run locally returns logged in. We are also able to deploy this, which I've done already. So if I call my users um, API, and I can do this. So yeah, don't forget to separate requests with triple dashes. So if I do this, I should get the same response from the API gateway. Obviously, I don't see the logged in because it only appears in the console log, and this is running on AWS. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some code to get the list of users, right? Because that's what we're doing, get/users. So let's get the users. For this, we are going to go on our dear developer portal. And I want to look not at the API Explorer, you all know there is a /users, but I want to look at the SDK because that's what we're using, the JavaScript SDK. And I want to look at the users API. And this page, is quite long, so it always takes a while to load. And I want to get the list of available users. There you go. That's the one here. So get users, and I get the code to do this. So we're gonna get the first 25 users. So first we need to set up that users API. So you need to add this code in there. So I'm gonna add this. So I need to get an instance of the user API. And why is it not going back here? There you go. We need to set some options and then call the API. So let me just copy this and put it here. So by default, we're going to get the first page of 25 users. You can go 100 max per page. And there are ways to filter out the agents, but we're not going to do it here. So that's fine. We just want to get the first 25 users. So if I do this, actually it's already set up. I'm getting the users with the options that are defined here, and I'm just displaying them. So let's see where we get with this. So if I do serverless offline to start my service, and I want to get the users. There you go. You see, there's a lot of data in the console log. That's all the users from my org.
Mhm.
So what we can do is add that to the message. So what we could do is this. You see where we return the message here?
Yeah.
So we could actually store the users somewhere. So the users are actually retrieved here in data. And data, if I scroll back up to the top, it's coming in an object called entities. So see, this is data, and it comes in entities, and it's an array of objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to get data that entities to show up here. Like if I add another object here, that would be where my users would show. And for this, we actually need to create that users variable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to create it here. It needs to be available in this code block. So I need to create the variable before this. So I could say let users is like an empty array.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get the users here, I could say users dot push, which is a way to push data into an array.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's concat. I might be wrong, but let's do this. Data dot entities. Okay, so I'm pushing in that variable, the data dot entities, which is actually my list of users, and I want to display them here when I return from the thing. So let's see if this works. I might be wrong about the push, but we'll see. Send a request. Yeah, it's the wrong one. Sorry, it should be a concat. So it's users equals users concat. There you go. JavaScript knowledge. Push is used when you want to push just one object. When you want to concatenate two arrays,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to do this.
Yeah.
All right, so send a request again, and it's still not going through. All right. All right, so we have to change the code a little bit. What happened was the Lambda function was returning its response before we were finished getting the users. Mm-hmm. So for this, I've changed a little bit how we do how we call the APIs, the SDK. I am using the keyword called await. Await allows us to wait for a function to finish asynchronously, meaning that it's not going to block the entire program from running if there's another action taking place. So instead of using client login credentials grant.then, what we're doing is we're going to say, okay, just wait for this function to finish and store everything in login data. Mm-hmm. Okay? And there is still a way to catch errors, and the way to do this is to do a try catch statement. So what you can do is just do this. In your try, which means, we try, but we might get an error. Try to do this. If there is an error being sent or something happens, wrong client ID and client secret, I want you to just log the error to the console. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we'll just return because we don't want to continue because something happened during the login part. Mm-hmm. Okay, if we get here, that means we get a successful login. Mm-hmm. So we're getting the users API, we're setting our options, that's fine. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to wait for that get users function to finish. So what I can do is actually do this, where I can encapsulate this in a try catch statement, move this here, and if there is something wrong, then again, I can log that to the console. I can also return the error to the caller, like a 500 error, something happened, and then in the body, we just show the error. Mm-hmm. And finally, we can return the response, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe we don't actually need that message. We don't really care about this. All we want are the users, right? Mm-hmm. So if I restart my Lambda function and run it again, you see, I get the users. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
easy.
Yeah, easy part. Yeah. So we get a users that returns the Genesis card users from my org using my credentials. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next step, data actions. So we have. Oh yeah, maybe I should also don't forget that deploy the latest code to AWS. Because right now we only run locally, so we need to deploy this to AWS to get the updated function. Takes a few seconds, and then I'm preparing on another screen the data actions because I just want to get the URL also from the AWS deploy.
So so the code that I've got thus far.
So now we get that function. I'm just going to try it again, right? See if it returns the same thing. Yes, it does. Okay, so we get users from our Lambda function in AWS. Now, data actions. So I'm in my org. I'm going to look at actions. And I need to create a new action. So we're going to use a category. Let's see, do I have one for me? No. I'll use this one, web services data actions. And I'm going to say query lambda test. All right, first thing first, we have the contracts, the configuration, and way to test. So in configuration, I'm just going to add my URL. Right, so this is the API gateway URL. This is a get. And in the response, yeah, we're not going to do that yet. We're not going to have any really input parameters for this, right? We're not searching for specific users. So we don't really have input. We have outputs. And in the outputs, if we look at it again, we get an object called users, and it's an array.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to specify this in the output contract. So this is actually an object called users. Actually, no, that's an array, sorry. An array called users. I don't need this one. I hope I'm going to get this right from the first time because I'm not the best at data actions. So this, we get the URL. All right, let's see what we get. Yes, all right. So that was actually an object. All right, let me pause that until I get it right. So in order to actually, I need to fix the output contract. The way we output data is we have users being an array, and then underneath we have an array of objects, and underneath we have strings, right? Or objects sometimes. So here, for the purpose of this call, we're just going to get the user ID. So I have an object on top of the response. Then I have an array called users, and underneath I have an observer object, which is actually the user, so I can give it a name. It's not mandatory. But what I want to get at the end is the ID. So when I test this, this is what I get. I get the list of user IDs from my response. Remember, we're only getting the first 25, so that's why we're only getting a few users.
Mm-hmm. Can I just, and I don't know if you want to stop the recording for this, can I just clarify in the contract, because you've got an object right at the start?
Yes.
And so what's that?
Because what we're getting at the beginning is an object.
Okay, so we've got an empty object, and then we've got it. Yeah.
An object, then underneath users is an array, then an object, then a string.
Got it.
So we don't have any inputs right now. And what we can do, let's see, let me save and publish this, because this is what I want. And all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new inbound chat flow and return the first ID that we get from running that data action inside Architect.
Mm-hmm.
So let me create a new inbound chat flow. We'll call it like a lambda test. That's it, yeah. And from here, we are going to, yeah, it's fine. We are going to actually do the data action. Why is it showing this? This is new to me. Yeah, I don't care about this. I just want the default stuff.
You can remove that, yes.
Yeah, disconnect. Okay, there we go. So let's see. I don't really care about the transfer. All I want to do right now is called a data action. So we have our data action. I've published it. That was in the web services data actions, I think. Yeah, Puric Lambda test. We don't have any inputs, and we want to map the output to users ID, yeah, or user IDs, because there's multiple of them. I'm not going to manage the errors right now. And we could say that whenever we get the chat, we could send a response with or another notice, yeah. And then we're going to use the user's ID. So user IDs, they should be able to, is it state or a variable? State.user IDs. And that's an array, so I want the first element. Is that the one? Yeah.
I thought it is flow or.
Yeah, I would have thought it was flow. Let me check.
Go back. Yeah, go. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, no,
State.
there's no way if we
Click on that. Click on that link. Why that? It's a state. No.
Yeah, I want entire flow.
It's not task. It is state in that sense. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, state is okay as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll use flow just for the.
Yeah, me as well. Don't take care about those little things. We are not working in productions, right?
Okay, well, you don't automatically update it. So flow.userid, I want to return the first user ID from the list of what I got from the data action. So publish that. I'm going to need to do some routing as well to make sure we can chat and reach that flow. So for this, I need to go in admin, routing, and no, that's the messenger, sorry. All right, so we're gonna create a new widget to route incoming chats to our flow. I'm going to call it lambda test because I'm always very original when I pick names. And we want to route to a flow called lambda test. Yeah. So save that. It will give me a key or deployment key that I can use in code, by the way. But right now, all we care about is the lambda test widget name. And now you can actually go to developer tools and let me go back here and go to the web chat section. And hopefully when this loads, we will have the lambda test. I don't care about the queue because all we're doing is going to a flow. So I have some dummy names in here. That's fine. I don't want to open in a new window. No, that's fine. And we start the chat. Start the chat. Where does it load the chat? Oh, does it actually need a queue?
I don't think so.
Oh, it does. Okay, it does need a queue. Okay, all right. Then we'll start the chat. There we go. This is the first user ID from just double checking maybe if I go in admin actions and test and test again. The first one is 4EE9 and this is 4EE9. Yeah, that's the one. So we created our Lambda function. We created a data action to call this. We then created an architect flow to call that data action. And then we're returning the first entry of whatever we're returning from the Lambda gateway, the Lambda function on AWS and returning it to the chat. And I'll pause the recording.
Yeah.
So just to sum up again, we use the data action from architect because that's the good way to test the Lambda function. Obviously, it doesn't make sense here to just return a user ID, but you get the point. You're actually calling a data action from architect, and then you're able to manipulate the response from that data action and just do whatever you want. You could have like a switch, a decision, and do something with the user IDs, but at least you called your data action that is coming from AWS. Okay, so I'll conclude this for now.